Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 47, overall 487 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles, as well as their Cadillac products as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and they have been sponsors of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the last 2.5 years, and I've been a customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership for the last 25 years now as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is also sponsored by Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Welly on, and please remember to drink responsibly. And Wellington Brewery is now celebrating their 40th anniversary. That's right, their 40th anniversary. Founded here in Guelph in 1985. They are Canada's oldest local craft brewery. So please check out Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road, or check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Great products, and if you like beer, Wellington Brewery, give a big thumbs up to as well. I hope everyone is doing well on this. I can't believe it is already Thursday, January 30th, 2025. And I'm excited to have my guest on today. This is her third time, second time on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. She's been on Small Talk podcast with Marlene and myself once, and her name is Kamryn.K, known as Spam Like Cam. She is a true Detroit original stand-up comedian and lifelong Detroit Lion fan, and a fan of a wrestler named Mick Foley. I'm excited to have Kamryn.K on, and we're going to talk a little bit about the 2024 Detroit Lions, Super Bowl 59, and her upcoming comedy show tonight too as well. Good afternoon, Kamryn. How are you?
Hello. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So what's the story behind that flag in the background? You're in Lions country.
Well, we are approximately 45 minutes from Detroit. I've Wayne County, born and raised my entire life. So if you're this close, you got to be in Lyons County. The whole state at this point is Lions country, I think.
How's the mood right now from the media and the Lions fan base, especially after seeing my Eagles crush the Commanders in the NFC Championship game?
I think that sometimes the unpopular opinions will always be pushed just because they're more controversial. But you've seen a lot of people ask for crazy things to step down, or acting like the team wasn't absolutely amazing this year is crazy. I personally am on the belief that it's just due to the injuries that we were unfortunately ended where we were. If we would have had our full starting lineup, we would have taken it all the way.
I would have liked to seen an Eagles-Lions NFC Championship game, because I really feel the Eagles would have matched up well with the Lions, but we'll have to wait to 2025 because the Lions are in Philadelphia next year at Lincoln Financial Field. But you know what? The Lions had a great year. This was their best regular season in franchise history, 15-2. They overcame a lot of injuries on their defensive side of the ball, and I thought the coaching staff did a great job. But they ran into a hot Washington Commanders team, and unfortunately, I think the Commanders, who were hot going into the playoffs and had a great season too, by the way, I think that factor in the Lions' injuries on defense caught up on them. And also too, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, sometimes in football, a bye week's not always a good thing because you can lose momentum and that when you're going into a game. And I've seen it before with teams with dominant records where they had a bye week and then they just didn't play their best game of the year they needed to in the playoffs.
Yeah, before the game happens, you think a bye week is sent from the heavens and giving your guys an extra week to recuperate. But then when that happens, also we had that hit by Jared pretty early in the game, or hit on
Yes,
Jared pretty early in the game. And I think that even after that, it seemed just a little shaken from there. Like I said, I mean, we had what, 16 people down?
that's a
Fly, Eagles,
lot.
fly. Right, yeah, I mean, it's just impossible at that point to say that our best foot was going forward, at least.
The expectations too. You think the Lions being the favorites and hearing it from the media too might have been a little too much, and the pressure of playing at home too. Sometimes it's easier to play on the road than it is at home.
I'll say that due to the attention that the Lions have been getting within the last couple of years, I think that that's what swayed the refs. We've never had calls go our way. I think that it's pretty well known that we've been at the low end of the stick a couple times when it's called to or come to games that have been decided by refs. And we've definitely, at least this year, gotten some fair games and even some calls that maybe shouldn't have been that way, but going in our way. And that just never happens. And I think that that's definitely a reflection of the popularity of the team and then becoming one of the America's teams or one of the favorites.
One of my friends in Buffalo, New York, his name is Robbie Schneider. He has his own podcast show. He's a really good guy. He loves sports too. He's a Buffalo guy, by the way. And he's watching our show right now. So he says, "Hello, Chris and Cameron. Go Eagles, fly, Eagles, fly." That's because of me. I've influenced him a little bit. And he's got a question for you, Cameron. He wants to ask you, do you see the Lions continue their success next season going forward?
Yeah, once I think it's hard to have the success when once again when it seems like what really took us down this year was injuries. Injuries are always happening. I think that one of the biggest changes might be some of the coaching staff, obviously losing some of our key players to be head coaches at other teams, which is, in my opinion, great for them. I think it once again just shows how strong of a coaching staff we had this year, that we had two different people now be offered head positions. I think is really saying a lot about us. But at the end of the day, Dan Campbell is the head, and I think that he's kind of the guy that sets the tone for the rest of the team. He's going to bring on people that want to contribute to the community that he's grown. And as long as we keep that grit, keep biting out kneecaps, you'll see us. You'll see us next year for sure.
Thoughts on Ben Johnson going to Chicago and Aaron Glenn going to the Jets? And I guess they've got the replacements in John Morton, who was the past offensive coordinator for Denver under Sean Payton, and Calvin Shepard is going to be promoted from the Lions linebacker. Just quick thoughts on that.
So Shepard got a lot of time in the TV show, the Hard Knocks that HBO did a couple year when they followed the Lions teams. So he's always been a really favorite of mine, or just his attitude about it. And I think that it's great to see promotion from within. He's already got relationships amongst the team. And then as far as just other promotion, hopefully going in, I wish, like I said, the other two coaches the best. I think it's going to be really interesting to play the Bears next season and see how that goes. Ben Johnson is great. I'd love to see the Bears. Well, it'd be harder for the Bears to do worse next season, but I'd love to see the Bears do better.
And Jimmy, who's one of my fans, he's watching as well. He says Ice is a Lions fan. I don't know what Ice means. Is that a singer or rapper? But I guess
Hopefully
Ice.
referring to Vanilla Ice and not, I
Okay,
don't know.
yeah, I'm assuming Vanilla Ice, but
Ice Tea, from from Law and
I
Order.
I guess I got to get with it. But yeah, hey, like I said, they had a great year and stuff like that. But you know what? It's also hard to win the National Football League too. The last time the Eagles lost a football game this year was to the Washington Commanders. So it wasn't like the Lions lost to some, oh my God, they lost to an 8-8 team or bad team. Jaden Daniels was red hot, and you got to give the Commanders credit. Nobody gave them a chance to beat the Lions there, and the Lions did score enough points. But you're right, their defense wasn't good enough, and too many injuries. And I know the Eagles have had a couple injuries too, but not to the degree of the Lions. Like that's 16. That's ridiculous. Like the Eagles have had a couple guys hurt, but nothing like the Lions. So, but you know what? you have to sometimes lose before you can win. And Philadelphia has had a lot of disappointments too. They back in the early 2000s under Andy Reid, they lost 4 straight NFC Championship games, and then when they finally got to the Super Bowl, they lost to the New England Patriots. So Philadelphia can relate to Detroit and having setbacks, but you know what? Dan Campbell's still there, Brad Holmes still there, Sheila Ford Hamp still there. The Lions aren't going to go back to being a bad football team anymore. I don't know if they're going to win 15 games next year because their schedule is going to be tough, but I think the Lions still can win their division and be one of the top seeds in the NFC next year, along with Philly and Washington and San Francisco. I think will rebound too.
Yeah, I think that we definitely still have the key players, and as long as we don't lose too many of them, kind of stacking our second string when it comes to the draft this year and being able to make sure that we are a little bit more ready for injuries when they happen, I think could also just carry us all the way there.
Absolutely. And gonna ask you, you watched? Did you go to the game at Ford Field or did you watch it at home?
I did not. Tickets were absolutely insane, but it's the first playoff game that we've won in Ford Field in 100 years. 50 years, something. It was great to be there. I did have my aunt as a season ticket holder, so I knew a couple of people, and also another comedian, Ian, who is or he claims that he started the One Pride, and I don't want to say, I don't want to get in trouble for he does because I believe him, but he's got the sheets. He's at every single game, painting his face up, and he's been one of the fans of the weeks. But he was there. It's crazy to see the people come out of the woodwork, to support this team this year.
Well, in this game, the Lions obviously got their points and their yards and stuff, but I thought they didn't use Jamar Gibbs and Montgomery. Montgomery coming off a major injury, I can understand that, but he was effective. But Jamal Gibbs had 115-yard rushing on 10 carries. I thought they didn't run the ball as much as they could have because Philadelphia pounded Washington with the run
Hmm.
game, 230 yards. I thought they didn't stick to the running game there, and one of the biggest things was the Detroit Lions had 4 turnovers in this game, and you can't turn a ball over in the playoffs that many times and expect to win. So I just think the Lions probably played their worst game of the year at the worst time.
Yeah, I had a similar thought about halfway through the game, going back to what you said, where I thought, oh, all we had to do was run it. It turns out that that was the key. It's hindsight is 2020. I hope looking back we can just do better next year.
And I know they did well without Aiden Hutchinson, but he's your best defensive player. He's your pass rusher. And they didn't get any pass rush at all on Jaden Daniels. He had all day in the pocket to look and find his receivers. And you can't win football games if you don't have a pass rush either.
Like, we lost another defensive man the very first quarter, I want to say, and that was a pretty nasty. The camera actually stayed on. Yeah, I don't know if you saw it because I don't think they caught it originally, but it was nasty, and you could see it
Robinson.
definitely. It was definitely mangled during it, and even just having that, yeah, it's just too many. Hutcherson, we can't wait for him to come back next year. It's not just obviously he led the NFL in sacks, even though he only played 3 games, 7 games or something this season, and he still had more sacks than most people or teams combined up until halfway through the season. Getting him back next year, like I said, really sticking that hopefully getting some good secondary line picks that can boost us up when we are hitting those injuries because we have the talent. It's there. It just needs to be not on injury reserve anymore.
What would you like to see Brad Holmes and the Lions management do in the offseason in terms of the NFL draft, which is in Green Bay, and maybe a NFL free agency to add to this team going into 2025?
I kind of, as I said before, I think we really just need to stick to getting our backups down, looking across the free agents, even especially, and maybe getting some older people on it, but just making sure that our secondary string is a little bit more prepared for when this happens. Because our first string is there. Our first string, I'm so sure, could have won the Super Bowl if we didn't have the injuries that we had. So I think that maybe just you can't work on not getting injured during the off season. That's just the name of the game, and it happens no matter what. So I think that it's just important to know, or just to be more prepared for that next season.
Well, and the Eagles have been really lucky too. Like Saquon Barkley has stayed healthy for the first time in his career. So you know what I mean?
And
He's been
and
a
the season
godsend.
that he's had, yeah, and
Yes.
he's just going to lead everything this year. There is nobody that's gotten close to him, and I got to have. I mean, that's how this kind of started. As you know, that I was an Eagles fan because I had Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley on my fantasy team this year. So that's why I won my regular season in the family league, because those two alone just carried me every single week.
I'm kind of glad there's a bye week between the Super Bowl because obviously Jalen Hurts has got a knee injury. He played well against the Commanders, but it gives him an extra week to heal. And Kenneth Gainwell, our backup running back, left with a concussion. And former Michigan Wolverine alumni Brandon Graham might be able to play in the Super Bowl. He tore his pec muscle in November, and he was supposed to be done for the year. So fingers crossed he can get Brandon Graham back. And otherwise, the Eagles are fairly healthy going into this game, and you know what? In the NFL, CFL, college football, the biggest X factor is always injuries, because you can overcome maybe one or two injuries, but sometimes if you have as many as the Lions, it eventually catches up to you in the end.
For sure. I think that most of the country is going to be rooting for the Eagles this year. You got a lot of people who hate both teams, I know. But when it comes down to Chiefs versus Eagles, I think that as of right now, the Chiefs are still a little bit more despised than the Eagles. So you've got
But
a
if
lot
the
more people rooting for you.
But if the Eagles, let's say, win this year, and let's say they win again next year, which I think they're capable of doing, you know what? The Chiefs used to be the good guys, and they became the villains. So in sports, the more you win and more championship you win, you go from being the heroes to the villains. And now Kansas City is what New England was for 20 years.
It was brought to my attention that all the football fans that were brought in by Taylor Swift have never seen their team lose a Super Bowl, and I just think that that's disgusting. As somebody who's watched their team lose their entire life, I think that it's time to humble them and show them what the NFL is really about.
Yes, and I'm still trying to get over that loss to the Chiefs 2 years ago, where the Eagles had a 10-point lead at halftime, and they lost by a field goal, and then there was a controversial call. Gotta ask you this: what's your opinion on the NFL officiating? Because I'm hearing all this talk about rigged and all this scripted nonsense. I think the officiating can be much better, but what's your opinion on it?
It's rigged. And my evidence, whatever you want to say, is just the fact that they could fix it if they wanted to. You have other sport. Go put on a tennis match, and you see that the cameras, aren't on the court, but they'll be able to tell you exactly where the ball hit on the line, if it was in or out, down to the millimeters on it. We definitely have the technology that if we wanted to have an accurate game, but we leave it up to the people so that they can give a little pull when needed and like can have a little take. And I think that that's a part of the game. Going to baseball and kind of losing the behind the plate umpire, I think would definitely change the game. Like a part of it is being able, if you could trick the ump and you can trick the batter like that, you deserve that strike if it's got enough curve or however in that sense. So I think that there's definitely ways where it could take away from what the game started as. But at this point, when it is so blatantly rigged, you just have calls, or just have games where you can go back and watch the review and know that it's wrong, and then entire games are on calls that are wrong. Like how do we retribute that?
But to be fair to the Bills, I agree with you that one fourth down was the first down for Buffalo. I totally they blew that. But the Buffalo Bills at the end of the game had 3.5 minutes left, three timeouts, 2 minute warning. They only needed to go 70 yards for the game winning touchdown or 45 yards for a field goal, and they only moved the ball 17 yards, and then they gave it up. And Dalton Kincaid, their tight end at the end of the game, dropped a ball that could have set them in field goal range too. So as much as the officials, I definitely agree with you that they need to be improved a lot. The NFL needs to work on it. The Buffalo Bills did have their chances in this game at the end, and they didn't get it done. So, but yeah, in the offseason, the NFL definitely needs to look at instant replay, and they also definitely need to make some changes with their officials. And they should be held accountable, just like the players are and the rest of us in our other careers. If you make a mistake, you should be held accountable. And people love the NFL and want the players to decide the games, not the officials.
I very much so agree. It's just been too many calls. There's no reason for it. Like I said, we could easily fix it if we wanted to. It's just something that I mean, to me, it just seems like it's so that the Chiefs can still get their hits. And as I said earlier in this interview too, I know that the Lions were getting some of their calls this year that After a long, long time of not having any calls go our way, we definitely probably had a couple that were a little shady and might not have been actually for us, but definitely helped us out. But I'd rather not. I'd rather have the game just be, like you said, as decided by the players.
Absolutely. And going to ask you this question too, Cameron. Is Jared Goff the right quarterback long term to lead the Lions into the 2025 and beyond seasons?
So I had somebody just even hint at the fact that because of that hit and because of everything that maybe we need to be looking at anybody else, and I was ready to jump through my Facebook screen and start fighting people about it. Like I think that it should be slanderous once again when you want to critique a team that's doing the best that the Lions have ever done is crazy. The last QB that we had, obviously Matthew Stafford, just had a lot more experience and was a lot more seasoned than Jared Goff is. He's still a young guy, and people I don't think really give him the credit that it takes for that. Do I think that he needs a little bit more um, mental game when it comes to at the end and crunch time? I don't think that he's going to be the quarterback that carries the whole team through in that last 2 minutes, but he definitely the team is. That's the whole point. Is that it's not. It hasn't really been one specific person. It's been Gibbs just as much as it's been St. Brown, just as much as it's been J-Mo. It's been a great team together. So I think that he's not going to be the cuter or the quarterback that's the leader, but he definitely can take us still. Yeah, 2025 and beyond.
I'm going to put you on the spots with this question. Just quick thoughts on the AFC and NFC championship games. Let's start with Buffalo and Kansas City. Besides the officiating, Buffalo really came out slow in this game, and they didn't start running the ball with James Cook and Ray Davis and Ty Johnson to the second half. I think if Buffalo came out running the ball earlier in this game, it might have been different.
I can see how, as a team that has Josh Allen as the quarterback, though, would depend on that arm for the first half. He's still always going to be one of the top, most accurate quarterbacks in the league. I was rooting for the Bills, if that wasn't obvious during that. I'm a Josh Allen fan, and I think that once again, everybody was just rooting for the Chiefs to lose that game, no matter who you really liked on the other side. I think it's a shame. And if it would have happened in another game, maybe we wouldn't be talking about the uneven or the unfair play calls, I'm sorry, as much, but because it has just been so rampant with the Chiefs, it really, really makes that game disappointing. And just as far as the NFL, like you said, it goes and the officiants and having it be decided that when it comes to the Eagles, uh, I was having fun. I was definitely, I think, the only Eagles fan in my group watching, but it was a good game. Both games didn't, we didn't have any runaways, so it was both good TV, I thought, and that's always fun. It definitely makes it seem like there's going to be a better game, hopefully, between the Eagles and the Chiefs moving forward, and that's all we can hope for. I wish though, I don't know. I just really wish the Chiefs didn't win.
Yeah, but you know what? Is whether you liked them or not, they made enough plays to win that game. Like when the game was tied, they drove down and got a field goal, and they made enough plays. And Josh Allen, I know that the officiating was bad, but Josh Allen had a great chance to get him into field goal range to send it to overtime or win the game. Didn't get it done. So I really feel the Chiefs have the Bills number, obviously. And as for the Eagles Commanders, Washington got off to a good start. They held the ball 8 minutes in the first quarter and had to settle for a field goal. They went for it on fourth down 3 times, and then they had a 4th and 1 at the Philly 20-yard line. And the coach Dan Quinn decided, yeah, no more fourth down tries. We're just going to kick the field goal. And it took them 8 minutes to get 3 points. Philadelphia gets the ball back. 18 seconds, one play, Saquon Barkley, 60 yards, touchdown. To me, that summed it up right there, 7-0. And then when the Commanders made it 14-12, 4th and 5 for the Eagles at their 50, Nick Sirianni went for it. And Jalen Hurts, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. Jalen Hurts threw a 31-yard pass to A.J. Brown, and that was the end of the game right there. And Jalen Hurts was great in this game, 20 out of 28, 246. The Eagles get their passing game going along with the running game. Kansas City is going to be in for a long day in Super Bowl 59 because I feel this Philadelphia team might even be better than their Super Bowl team from 7 years ago and 2 years ago.
I think that one of the big factors that we didn't even have 2 years ago in Philadelphia is the tush push. That's kind of popped up, and it was such a huge factor. It seemed like for the team last year that I remember there being lots of talks about the NFL banning it, and potentially making it illegal because it just seems unstoppable. And then we saw against the Commanders how unstoppable it was. You've never heard a ref, go out there and say, if they try it one more time, we're gonna just have to give them a point because
Yeah.
they can't keep on splitting the difference. It made sense, but it's cool just to see a play like that kind of also once again rear its head and just continue to work for them. Nobody else can really pull off what they're doing in that sense. They lost Jason Kelsey this year, so originally it didn't look as strong, but it definitely worked for them against the Commanders, and hopefully it'll work for them again with the Chiefs.
And they had 7 rushing touchdowns, which tied an NFL record going back to 1940. And Barkley had 3, Hurts had 3, and their third string running back, Will Shipley, had an 80-yard run and a touchdown as well. So the Eagles are playing old school football, and that's the thing is everybody talks about passing, but running the football is just as important. And that's why I hope the Lions can keep Montgomery next year, because that just makes them more dangerous with Montgomery and Gibbs. I like both of the running backs too.
That is also what's scary about having such a strong team is that now, are we going to lose one of our people because they had one of the best seasons of their lives? Getting the whole team getting better brings more attention to some of these players, and I don't want to lose a single one of them.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is your Super Bowl 59 prediction? Who's the MVP? And is this a low or a high scoring game? And thoughts on Jalen Hurts going to his second Super Bowl in 3 years? He gets a lot of hate and criticism, but all he does is win.
Jalen Hurts, once again, I feel like beyond his years when it's come down to it, it's the fact that he's competing against Mahomes' second Super Bowl in 3 years. I think he's going to have a very long career, and I don't even think we've seen the peak of Jalen Hurts yet, which is crazy to think about in that sense. What I think is going to happen versus what I hope is going to happen are two different things. I hope that the Eagles win. I think that nobody else deserves MVP like Saquon Barkley this year. Not even a chance. And I hope both teams are definitely more known for their offense and defense, so it'll probably be a high scoring, great, close game throughout the entire match. However, I think that with the refs and with going on once again, if you got Taylor Swift in her own box, Vegas is going to say the Chiefs, and it might just end up going that way or something happens. I think that we're getting to the point where once again the replays are so affluent and so quick that we're getting to the point where if something happens again and the Chiefs do win on just a huge missed call, I think that you'll see people demand change in a way that we haven't yet from the NFL. It just can't keep on happening.
I'm just praying that the officials call it fair for both teams and let the players decide the game. People pay a lot of money to go to these games, and these athletes put a lot of work into it. So please let the players decide the games. Call what you need to call, but be consistent and be competent. That's what I'd say. Be consistent, be competent, and I'm just fingers crossed they stay out of it and let these guys decide the game as well. I have the Eagles winning it 34-27, and I got to go with Saquon as the MVP. As much as I want Jalen Hurts to get the MVP, I think Saquon Barkley is on a mission, and I think he wants to prove that he can run against Kansas City. The Chiefs haven't given up a 100-yard rusher in 18 straight games, and I think that streak's going to end. And you know what? As great as the Chiefs have been, old dynasties, winning streaks do come to an end. And what happened 2 years ago doesn't mean it's going to happen now. So I really think Philly's going to win this game. And the last 2 games against the Chiefs, they've scored 56 points on the Chiefs, 655 yards of offense. They can run the ball and pass it on the Chiefs defense. I just think the key is the Eagles defensive front 4 with Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter from Georgia, the big nose tackle. They put pressure on Mahomes. It's going to force Mahomes into bad decisions and maybe even turnovers. And I think that's what's going to be the difference in this game. The Eagles are plus 21 this year in taking the ball. And in the playoffs, they've taken away the ball 10 times and haven't turned it over once. And Kansas City turned it over once against Buffalo, and the Bills made them pay. So I think turnovers will be huge in this game, is just as much as the officiating.
Right, when you have two teams that are going to be at this capacity and some of the best players that we've seen within the past decade playing against each other that you're gonna hopefully it's just gonna be a shootout because they're gonna be unstoppable, and both of these teams are known for what's going on their offense more than the defense, especially the Chiefs being able to be as unbeatable as they were through the season, but never scoring above 30 points until some of their last games. They were winning, but they weren't going away with it ever, and so that's hopefully going to be a benefit for the Eagles.
And finally, Kamryn, can you tell us about your upcoming live performances, especially one tonight, and how can people buy tickets if they're watching this or listening to this in the Michigan area, or even watching live stream possibly?
This is my 1-year anniversary show happening tonight at Punchline Comedy Club in Southfield. I did an open mic almost a year ago, just about a little bit more, like a week away. But this is going to be celebrating, so I am headlining my very own show. I won this opportunity through a comedy competition. This will be the first time I've ever headlined, so I'm very, very excited about it. I've got a couple of friends opening for me. I can't even think today. I've been throwing up nonstop. I can't hold down my food. I am so nervous about it, but hopefully it all goes well. And it's not even going to be the most exciting show I have this year. Come March, I will be opening for Mick Foley in 3 different dates in Royal Oak at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, which is a huge venue, just one of my most respected venues in Michigan for sure. And then also in Cleveland and Toledo as well in Ohio. So I'll be crossing state lines with the hardcore legend. A lot more other shows in between all them. I'll be booking my own shows, but this is at 2025, my year. Let's do it.
And how can people find you on social media, and the best way of contacting you as well through email?
I'm at Spam Like Cam on just about any platform: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. If there's any bookings, or even if you just want to reach out and say hi, Kamryn.K is my name, and KamrynKbookings at gmail.com is going to be the best way to get a hold of me. Or once again, you can follow me at Spam Like Cam, which is right underneath my name here. Thank you so much. Oh, other side, right underneath right there, at Spam Like Cam, just about on any social media.
Congratulations on your first anniversary and headlining this tonight as well. What time will you get to the Punchline Comedy Lounge? Like, do you want to get there like about 2 hours before, just to mentally prepare and all that?
2 hours? No, while I'm there is like the worst time to mentally prepare. I'm gonna hopefully be as prepared as I can before I leave my house. Get there when the doors open just to set up some cameras and be able to survey the room and have, my cameras where I want them and things like that. And I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. It'll be such a huge wave of relief when it's finally over.
Well, when you're done your show, please let me know how it goes, and when you have the clips of it, I'd like to watch some of it too on your social media pages as well. I think it's great.
I'm selling it to HBO. You'll have to get a subscription to watch it.
And just thoughts on Punchline Comedy Lounge. Like, have you performed there before?
Yeah, so they were the ones, I won a competition there, so they were the ones that has given me this opportunity to go through. I beat out a couple of other comedians and originally was just supposed to win my own place in a showcase with a couple of other competition winners, but they really liked my set, and when they found out I had enough time, they offered me my very first headlining position. They've told me that they are one of 9 Black-owned clubs in the United States, which is really cool. I guess there's a lot of other rooms, but just to be an actual comedy club and so close to Detroit is super, super important. So I'm super stoked about that as well. Really reputable is just as far as going. So I can even just have that. I headlined, Punchline Comedy Club is going to be on my resume till I die.
That
McDonald's
is
will love
awesome.
it.
That is awesome. And finally, we're going to put you on the spot with this question. Quick WWE thoughts on the upcoming Royal Rumble, who wins the men and women's. And again, I guess how can people get a hold of you on social media and the best way of contacting you or emailing you too?
All right. If they don't give the Royal Rumble to John Cena on his last year, I would feel bad. I think that he definitely deserves. That's who I want to see. It's who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for him this entire year. I really, really love John Cena. I've got a couple jokes about John Cena that you can find on my social medias because I've posted it at Spam Like Cam. I have it on my Twitter, on my Facebook and Instagram. And then for the women's, Well, wait, can I pick a secondary too? John
Yes.
Cena, runner up, and this is gonna be controversial, which is why I wanna say it because I don't want him to win, but I think he's gonna go to the very end just because of the storylines and where he's at right here. I'm talking so fast because 'cause I'm getting so excited when we start talking about wrestling. I can feel CM Punk, though, I think is gonna be one of the top 3 people remaining, and it'll be super high drama, but then he'll lose in, like, the last minute. Somebody else will probably come and sabotage him because nothing's ever his fault, I'm sure, whatever, CM. And then for the females, this once again, I don't know if it's controversial, but I've heard rumors, and I think that Charlotte Flair is gonna come back because I guess they were talking about signing Ric Flair back as a management or as some other position. But I think that there's a chance that we see Charlotte Flair make her grand debut back, and if she comes in, I hope she just win it. Take it. Take your title back, queen. For my brother. He
Absolutely.
knows it.
I like that Tiffy time. I like her. I think she's talented and she's got personality. And I like what she did to Nia Jax. I really like that feud.
Impressive.
I hope that feud continues for a while. I hope they don't just that's the end of Nia Jax. I really want to see her go at it, Tiffany Stratton. Maybe that's going to be a WrestleMania match.
Tiffany Stratton is definitely, I mean, she's only been 1 year now off of NXT, and she's just a huge, really busted into the scene and doing a great job. Nia Jackson, for the Rhea Ripley match just not too long ago was great. It was one of the best women's matches that they've had, I think, in a while.
All right. Well, Cameron, I would love to talk to you more, but I know you got to get ready for your performance again. Tell us about it again tonight, 7 o'clock, 7:30.
I am so excited. 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6:30. Punchline Comedy in Southfield. I'll be there with a couple of friends. You can find the link at any of those social medias. I've got a website and all the links in my bios. It's got tickets to all of my upcoming events, including tonight.
All right. And then next time we have you on my show in the future, we'll just talk WWE and professional wrestling then.
If we just have a whole show just before Royal Rumble and just we
So,
could
but
live stream it and just, do our own commentary.
all
I'm
right.
sick of Pat McAfee this year, honestly.
Well, hey, Cameron, I want to say thank you so much for doing this and continued success in your comedy career. And thank you for coming on and talking about the Lions and talking the Super Bowl with us as well. And I hope you have a great show tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing some of your clips and highlights from your performance on your social media pages as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's always great being here. I'll talk about the Lions to anybody that'll listen.
Absolutely. So we'll talk soon, and we'll definitely see you next year when the Lions invade Lincoln Financial Field as well.
I'll see you there. See you in Philly.
Okay. Have a great show tonight. I won't say break a leg. Have a great show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. All right, guys, that concludes season 9, episode 47. Overall, 487 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph. I want to say thank you to my guest, Kamryn.K, an upcoming, very talented stand-up comedian in the great state of Michigan, and she'll be performing tonight at the Punchline Comedy Club in Southfield, Michigan. You can check out her social media pages, either Spam is like Cam or Cam.K on Facebook, and a link there as well. Before we wrap up the show, guys, I have an announcement to make. Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, again sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery. My next episode, season 9, episode 48, overall 484, will be on Wednesday, February 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Griff Bourdignon. He's French. He's a freelance media, and he also covers the Toronto Argonauts as well. And Griff's going to come on, and we're going to talk about Super Bowl 59 between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, and maybe a little CFL as well when the CFL starts back up in May. The CFL just released their 2025 schedule. So Griff Bourdignon will be on my show tonight on Wednesday, February 5th at 7 o'clock to talk Super Bowl and maybe a little Canadian Football League as well. Before you go, guys, I'm going to air a little video footage. Unfortunately, they had a tragedy last night out in Virginia with American Eagle Flight 5432 carrying 60 passengers, 4 crew members, collided mid-air with an Army helicopter near Reagan, Washington National Airport last night, and everybody's been reported deceased. And I'm just going to play a little video clip courtesy of Global News YouTube channel. Again, this clip is courtesy of Global News YouTube channel.
We are continuing to follow developing news this morning after a deadly mid-air collision took place between an American Airlines passenger jet and an Army helicopter just outside of Washington, D.C. last night. Both aircraft crashed into the Potomac River, where a massive search is underway. For the latest, we're joined now by Global's Washington Bureau Chief, Jackson Prosco. So Jackson, we've now heard from officials. So what's the latest update about what happened here?
Yeah, Miranda, regrettably, this is no longer a rescue mission. It is now a recovery mission. The local fire chief would have been a factor in this crash. It was perfectly clear out. But certainly, as families come to Reagan National Airport now to try and grieve and learn more information from the airlines, the question of how this could have happened at one of the busiest airports in the United States is going to weigh very heavy for them this morning.
Absolutely. That is the big question here, I think, Jackson. How could this have happened? It's my understanding the airspace around Washington, D.C. is quite complicated. So could that have been a factor?
Yes, so there's a couple things to keep in mind here. One is that the airspace is heavily restricted because of the White House and the Capitol building and the proximity of Reagan Airport to both of those things. And so when aircraft approach, they are under control tower guidance the entire time. They have to fly a very specific course that follows the path essentially of the Potomac River. At the same time, you've got a lot of cross traffic. You do have military traffic that operates in the area. There is actually a military base directly across from where this crash happened, Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. There is the Pentagon as well, and there are helicopter shuttle flights that run back and forth between those bases and Joint Base Andrews, where the president often flies from. So there is a lot of helicopter activity in the vicinity of Reagan Airport at the same time. That is a constant. And if you've ever been to Washington, the helicopters and the low-flying planes are both constant fixtures of all of that. And then the last thing is, because of that heavily restricted airspace, the approach to Reagan Airport is very difficult. And the runways actually extend out into the Potomac River, into the water. Pilots jokingly call it the aircraft carrier because it's a very difficult landing and approach. And so all those complexities will be things that are analyzed here by accident investigators as they try to figure out what exactly could have happened, which aircraft may have been in the wrong, and how they could have actually come into contact with each other.
All right, and Jackson, how big of a hub is Reagan National Airport, and how is this incident, this crash, impacting its operations?
By aircraft movement, so the number of flights per day, the main runway there is one of the busiest in the United States, and it is a major hub for American Airlines, which was involved in this crash last night, both for domestic and regional flying. So yes, Tons of traffic that come in and out of there. The airport is currently scheduled to be closed until 11 a.m. local time this morning. It's not clear if that might be extended even further, but certainly it's going to have a major impact on air traffic right across the eastern U.S. this morning because this is such an important hub.
Okay, and of course, the families of the victims also top of mind right now. Jackson, what more do we know about the passengers on board each aircraft?
Yeah, only scant details trickling out at this point. This flight was coming from Wichita, Kansas to Washington, D.C. What stands out, though, is that there had been a national figure skating training camp in Wichita these past few days. And our understanding is from U.S. figure skating that several athletes and coaches were on board that flight, as well as 2 Russian Olympians who had all been returning from that event. So there is an expectation that the figure skating community in particular is going to be very, very hard hit by this, just based on the group that was traveling together on that flight.
All right, just a tragic story there, Jackson. Thank you so much for that update. We'll continue to follow it closely.
Celebrating their 40th year of operation, 1985 to 2025. They are Canada's oldest local craft brewery. So please check out Wellington Brewery. Either visit their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca, or pop by the brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario, which isn't far from my other sponsor, Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new pre-owned GM vehicles, or check out their website at barrycullen.com, or give the dealership a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And as we wrap up our show, guys, you can also, if you're looking to adopt a pet, again, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org, all the animals up for adoption there. Their profiles are on CambridgeHumaneSociety.org. And if you're looking to volunteer like myself, please fill out a volunteer application form through their website as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Make sure you hit follow and subscribe on my social media platforms. You can check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. I'm also a content creator on TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok at Live with CDP. Make sure you hit follow and check out my content there as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. I've been with StreamYard now for 4 years. Great customer service there as well. Finally, guys, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio versions on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Please make sure you hit the subscribe and follow notification. Finally, you guys can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. And I'm also on PayPal. If you're looking to contribute to my radio show and media work, I'm on PayPal, cpalme19@gmail.com. And also, guys, about a year ago, I joined the Cameo family. So if you'd like a personalized video message from yours truly, Chris Palme, click on cameo.com and type in Chris Palme and book your Cameo today, and I'd be happy to do one for you. And you guys can talk sports with me, ask me questions about the Eagles or CDP Media Productions or my freelance media work I do with a number of professional sports teams as well. And you guys can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and also please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Type in Chris Palme or Live with CDP Sports Talk. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Threads, and I'm also now on Blue Sky. And before we wrap this show up, guys, I will put that on there as well, where you can find me on Blue Sky. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky. At Live with CDP19, _bluesky.social. I'm on there as well. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed and on my audio platforms, and to my sponsorships, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph, Ontario. And thank you to my guest, Kamryn.K, for her third appearance on my show. Kamryn.K is an upcoming, very talented comedian in the Detroit, Michigan area, and she's going to be playing tonight at the Punchline Comedy Club in Southfield, Michigan. So for those people that are watching this show or listening to it and that are in the Detroit area, please check out Kamryn.K, known as Spam is Cam. Punchline Comedy tonight, 7 o'clock in Southfield, Michigan. And again, my next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, Wednesday, February 5th at 7 p.m. with my special guest, Griff Bordignon. He is a freelance media member and covers the Toronto Argonauts. Griff's going to come on and we're going to talk Super Bowl 59 as well. And I'm working on more guests for next week and hoping to do at least possibly 3 Super Bowl 59 preview shows. And I already have one booked with Griff on Wednesday, February 5th at 7 o'clock. The next Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself will take place in February for season 3, episode 2 as well. That's about it. Thank you to Wellington Brewery and Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring this show. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon. And I will be covering the Bandits Albany Fireworks game this Saturday night at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, 7:30 down at the KeyBank Center. You can get tickets at bandits.com, or you can watch the game on CW23 in Buffalo or the Bet 1520 in Buffalo with John Gerkler and Steve Bermel calling the game. So Bandits Albany Firewolves, 7:30 Saturday night, KeyBank Center, National Cross League, and I will be covering that game. And that's about it. Again, thank you to Kamryn.K, everybody, for watching and listening to the show, and to my sponsors, Barry Cullen Chevrolet, Wellington Brewery. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next week, hopefully before Wednesday, with another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Have a great afternoon, great weekend, everybody.